This show is brought to you by Nice Mug. Nice Mug is the only mug made entirely out of ice. For more information, go to nicemug.com and enter the coupon code SAUNA for 10% off your entire purchase. Recently, I had the pleasure of sitting on the bench with Omar Ansari, founder of Surly Brewing. You can listen to our Sauna Talk interview through Sauna Times if you haven't already. It's a great visit. And today on the bench, I have the pleasure of visiting with another enterprising icon in the Twin Cities of Minneapolis, St. Paul, Minnesota. Today, we welcome John Munger, Executive Director of the Loppet Foundation. John and Omar have a few similarities. They both know each other from way back. Surly was an early sponsor of the Loppet Foundation, and that relationship is still strong today. Their beginnings, John with the Loppet and Omar with Surly Brewing, each started as a kernel seed of an idea, and each has grown into something long-lasting and remarkable. Both have swam upstream against established rules and structure, both political and policy, with fierce dedication to their clear visions and missions. And as you'll hear in this episode, John notes that, quote, real change in the world is stuff that lasts, end quote. In the case of Surly Brewing, we have Surlyville, a substantial, cool, and beautiful brewery destination complex. And in the case of the Loppet Foundation, we have the Trailhead, a substantially cool and beautiful recreation destination complex. So each of these beautiful buildings and the smiles created within are Instagram worthy. Both buildings appear in tourist brochures and social media feeds for people visiting the Twin Cities of Minneapolis, St. Paul. And yet neither of these Twin City iconic structures and organizations would exist without either Omar or John. So what is the Loppet Foundation? It was founded in 2002. The Loppet Foundation is a nonprofit which is dedicated towards doing something good for the community. The foundation undertakes a variety of things, including trails and facility management, large-scale public events, youth and adult recreational programming, and competitive training clubs. At the center of all these tentacles is their mission, which is to create a shared passion for year-round outdoor adventure in the Minneapolis area, with a focus on underserved youth and families. The Loppet Foundation offers year-round programs for kids, adults, and everyone in between, from the Loppet Run Club to their in-school Mini Loppet program. The foundation works to get folks from all walks of life outside and active, no matter what the weather. A lot of skiing going on with the Loppet Foundation. There's trails at Theodorworth Park go on and are really well groomed. There's mountain biking within these trails, and you know, in the summer season, golf. The Theodorworth Golf Course has been around for about a century and is very active. So it's a beautiful area, Theodorworth Park, old growth trees. And when you come around a corner, you can see a gorgeous view of the downtown Minneapolis skyline. It's emblematic of the beauty of the city of Minneapolis. It reminds me of a European city where you have nature and urban kind of intertwined in public use and very well maintained. So the Luminary Loppet, this is a key core of the Loppet Foundation. It happens at Lake of the Isles in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and has grown tremendously. As you will hear in the interview, the first Luminary had about 150 people in 2006. In this past Luminary, we had over 10,000 people in attendance. What it is Saturday night, a cold night usually in the heart of winter. Thousands of people gather, and there's luminary ice carvings and sculptures and walkways and trails and bands and music and outdoor entertainment. It's just a wonderful opportunity for the community to gather, celebrate winter, celebrate life in Minneapolis, all on the frozen lake of the Isles in the heart of Minneapolis, surrounded by $1-million stucco homes, and just everything's a postcard. And we wave the flag for winter in an urban environment real high, and it's a gorgeous event. So the Trailhead project, including building and surround trail improvements, is about a $10 million project in total. The building is completed and has quickly become a signature statement piece for Minneapolis. The 612 Sauna Society's wood-fired mobile sauna has been parked in the shadows of the Trailhead all winter long and now into spring. This sauna residency has complemented the offerings of the Trailhead. Guests have been able to enjoy sauna after ski, surrounding these old-growth trees and well-groomed trails in, quote, "this is so awesome, it's got to be against some kind of rule," end quote, kind of way. So some quotes from John Munger come to mind. Real change in the world is stuff that lasts. It doesn't always have to be fun in order to be meaningful. All volunteers do more work than Hercules. They do amazing work. And, John says, I enjoy sauna. It has been something that is culturally part of everything we do. If you are an outdoor person, if you are a skier, if you are Scandinavian roots, sauna is a part of all of that. So, yeah, I also enjoyed a quote from John where he says, when he reflects upon his work, he says, quote, "When I do my work well, it is because I say yes." And you'll hear a little bit more about that. We talk about liability. Here's a really funny line in there about liability and pulling apart what does liability mean, how it's a quick way to snuff out enterprise, exciting things. And when you peel away the claim of liability, oftentimes it's hollow and there's nothing there. We'll hear about John's story as it relates to Jesse Diggins, who has been a contributor to help make the World Cup a reality for Minneapolis. 2001 was the last World Cup in the U.S., and 2020 it will be under the wing of the Loppet Foundation in Minneapolis, Minnesota, USA. So without further ado, please enjoy my interview with John Munger from the Loppet Foundation. On the bench. It's March, and this is a really interesting day, I think, John, because I'm with John Munger, founder of the Loppet Foundation, and we're sitting at right in front of the Trailhead in the 612 sauna. And John, I got to tell you a quick story. This is almost like made for the movies, because I didn't bring my skis today. I told you I was going to ski. It's March 18.
Yeah.
And we've had a great winter in terms of snow, right?
Yeah.
So I decided, okay, no skis. It's got to be too late. The sun is too high and all that. So I just went for a walk before our sauna together. And I got to tell you this. So I'm starting my walk, and I see this couple coming off, the ski hill. So I said, hey, how was it? How was it? They were just glowing. They were like, it's unbelievable. The conditions are fantastic. And I'm so pissed that I didn't bring my skis to ski before our sauna today. But there's a compliment. Unintended.
Yeah, you definitely made a mistake in not bringing your skis today. I'm actually kicking myself because, as it turned out, I only had a little free time today, and I squandered it early this morning when the skiing would have been perfect. So
yeah.
Either going to go tonight or tomorrow morning. It's going to be good.
So if you were to take the last 3 weeks, 21 days, how many have you skied?
I bet I've skied 20 of those 21 days.
Okay. And out of the 20, how many have you skied right from your office, in so many words, right from your office here at the Trailhead?
I either ski right from the office at the Trailhead, or I ski right from my house where I can ski into the office.
Oh, that's
so
tremendous.
Yeah, it's a slick arrangement for me.
So in the last 21 work days, how many did you ski to work versus come to work from in some other way?
I usually bicycle to work, but my bike with studded tires, which you would need these days, has a flat tire, so I was forced to ski to work probably, I'd say 16 of those days.
Wow. Because the snow's been so good.
Absolutely. It's been a great February.
And the snow was great, but it was also somewhat cruel, if I could be so bold. Can you wind the clock back to this year's Loppet and give us a little behind-the-scene curtain of what it was like managing the trails, the race, with the unpredictable weather that we had this time around.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting. We had basically zero snow through November, December, and January. We had great skiing because of our artificial snow loop, but we did finally get, I think it was 6 inches of snow or so the Sunday before the event. And, now this is on bare ground. And 6 inches on a couple inches of ice would be no problem, but 6 inches on bare ground, we had to do tons of shoveling during the week to get the trails ready. And then Saturday we did manage to do the point-to-point classic race, albeit with a few maybe dinged up skis. And then Saturday it got to 33 or so, 34 degrees, which shouldn't be too bad usually. So we were planning to do the full course marathon course skate race. But what actually ended up happening was we did a lot of inspecting to see what things were like, and I ended up skiing back from the Luminary Loppet that evening to my house and encountered the groomers along the way. And it was at that point at about 10 at night the best conditions of the entire year, actually, because it had firmed up and that warmer temperatures had really helped. I went to bed, wrote up my trail report to all the athletes first. I went to bed, and then I got up at 3:30 in the morning and went out to look at the course again, and I was greeted to the sound of dripping. And instead of going down overnight, it went up to about 38 and hovered there. And so when I went out, it was what had been really nice a few hours before was pretty grim. And so we ended up having to make a call at 4 in the morning to pull the plug on the full marathon course and ski on our loops here at Worth Park. So it was an interesting evening. The one other thing I'll say on that is that 33 degrees turns out to be the perfect temperature for the Luminary Loppet, and so we had the best Luminary Loppet ever. So
okay, so for those listening, a lot of people listen to Sauna Talk, from Europe and all over beyond Minnesota. When you say the ski race had to be changed at that time at 4 in the morning, how many racers did that decision affect?
There were probably 1,200, 1,500 people doing the point-to-point courses from Bede-Makaska to Worth Park. So some of them doing a marathon, some of them doing half marathon, some of them doing a marathon on fat bikes. Right. Some of them with dogs, ski joring.
So about 1,500 people were affected by your decision or the group's decision.
Yep, group's decision.
Okay.
Yep.
And then the Luminary Loppet, which we'll talk about here in a moment. How many people enjoyed the best weather for the Luminary Loppet in many years?
We never know exactly how many people are out there, but there were well over 10,000 people out there enjoying that event that night for sure.
Yeah. Do you think that the Loppet is known around the country as an organization, as a city, a Minneapolis event? Would you say? Like, are you in touch with many city people that do what you do in other cities? And would you say that the Loppet Foundation is known around our country?
Well, it's funny, Glenn. I mean, people ask as we go along and things. They say, "Well, have you looked at comparables across the country?" And we look around, and there aren't a lot of organizations that do exactly what we do. We're pretty unique. But increasingly, especially with this Trailhead building we're sitting right outside of right now, people are calling us and saying, "Hey, we'd love to emulate what's happening in Minneapolis," and that's fun. And then with the World Cup that we have coming, I think people are excited about what's happening in Minneapolis.
Can we wind the clock back? I've known you, John, what, 15 years maybe?
Something like that. Well, I'm guessing it's probably 13 or so. That was when we started the Luminary Loppet, and I have a feeling that was right. Although, maybe you're right. Maybe it has been 15 because it was probably the first time that we did the event where we finished in Uptown.
That's right.
You started talking about doing a sauna at the end of the race.
Yeah. So I've been around for a lot of this growth of the Loppet Foundation, and But I'd like to go back even further if you're cool with it. Let's talk about yourself and your heritage. Can you go back? Maybe your grandfather? Can we go back that far?
Sure. I mean, so my grandfather was Willard Munger, who is a well-known person in Duluth, Minnesota. He was a state representative for 42 years, I believe. And he was a big environmentalist. He was the guy who, got the DDT banned in Minnesota for the first time when people thought he was a crazy environmental lunatic, and he ended up getting the first rail trail built in the 80s, and that's the Willard Munger Trail now. And so my middle name is Willard, and he was always my hero growing up.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Obviously, some elements of leadership and nature. Being a naturalist. Those, I guess, knowing you, are two areas of the legacy of how it rubbed off on you. What your grandfather's principles and that. What'd your father do?
Yeah, my father probably had equally as big of an influence on me as my grandfather, if not bigger. I mean, he ran the Multiple Sclerosis Society growing up, and I like to tell the story of my dad. So his job was primarily a fundraiser. That's what the MS Society does, right? But he didn't like asking people for money, so he tried to think of ways of raising money without asking people for money. And he had grown up in Duluth, and he came up with this idea of having people bicycle to Duluth as a fundraiser for MS. And this is before any of the big rides, right? And so he thought of the idea, and he decided he wanted to see if ordinary people could do this. And so him and I was like 10 or 11 years old. We climbed on our bikes, which were not at all prepared for this, and bicycled to Duluth to see whether ordinary people could do it.
From Minneapolis?
From Minneapolis, yes.
And so that was an outreach. That was a way to reach people in the Twin Cities.
Yeah, well, I think what he wanted to do was, what ended up happening was creating the MS 150. We like to say, the two of us riding was the first MS 150.
Fantastic.
Right?
What year would that have been?
Either 79 or 80.
Yeah.
I cried, pretty much the whole third day. But he deemed it a success anyway.
What were you doing then? What was your? Were you still in school? Graduated?
Well, like I said, I was 10 or 11 years old.
Oh, you were that young. Okay,
which is why I cried.
Cried. Got it.
So yeah. I mean, as we were, the first day was okay. We I think biked to Forest Lake, and the second day we biked to Hinckley, and that was all right. And then the third day, you were on Highway 23. This is before the Munger Trail. And
yeah.
Things get a little hilly there.
Yeah.
And so every hill we would go over, my dad would be like, "Well, this is the last hill, John," and then it's 5 Mile Hill down into Duluth,
Tremendous.
And we would crest the hill, and there would just be another hill going up, right? And so I spent a lot of time crying, and we eventually did make it to 5 Mile Hill, and
so this is an interesting thing about parenthood, if nothing else, is so as it relates to sauna, like both Grant and Nate. You remember Grant? You met Grant at Loring Pasta Bar that one time when we ran into you. He was
sure.
Yeah. So these two boys of ours grew up with sauna. They were taking saunas before they could walk, and now sauna is ho-hum for them. But there's biking for you. Like, biking is not ho-hum for you. You somehow, although you were forced into it, you bike to work, and you bike like crazy. So it obviously stuck after that experience at age 10. You kind of got into it, I sense.
Well, I think, I attribute that to, being willing to push people into adventures they might be uncomfortable with. It's kind of the whole endurance stuff. I'm comfortable with biking and skiing and whatever. And the other thing I like to say is, people talk about making everything fun, and I'm always like, well, it doesn't have to always be fun in order to be meaningful.
I like that.
Certainly that third day of biking was not fun, but it was probably one of the more meaningful experiences in my life. So,
fast forwarding a little bit, you went to school in Minneapolis, college.
I went to college in New York at Cornell University, where I met
and I went to Ithaca.
Oh, cool! Yeah, right across the way there.
The land of above average SAT scores, and yours was the land of excellent SAT scores at the time. Studied law.
I studied law at the University of Minnesota. Yeah.
And then tell us about your career right after law school.
So I practiced law for a number of years. As a litigator, did a lot of public sector work, and eventually found myself trying to make the ski trails better at Worth Park, and then found myself organizing a ski race and.
On the side.
On the side, yes, and fortunately, my wife had a very good job, and we had little kids, and so after a couple of years of doing kind of both jobs, I had a little discussion with my wife and said, maybe it'd be better if I only did one job instead of two, and we chose this route, and I've been at Loppet stuff ever since.
If we were to wind the clock back to the decision making of that family decision. How hard was it? I mean, you were obviously making some pretty decent coin. You had a lot of, time and education and money invested in your main career. Can you, for those listening, maybe at their own crossroads of their career, deciding the practical choice or the more passion choice? You obviously chose the passion side, didn't you?
Yeah. Yep.
How would you advise other people unpack or make that decision of themselves at a career crossroads like you were?
Well, a couple things to observe there. One is, I think probably something had to give. I mean, my wife's a physician. I was an attorney. We had one young kid and another one coming, and I think it's pretty. You can do it, but it's pretty hard to have two really loaded professionals in one household and try and have a meaningful life for your kids. So I feel like since then I've worked as harder, probably harder actually than I would have had I stayed in law, but I've, particularly back then when we were little, had more flexibility, and so that's been a really good choice. On the other hand, I'll say there are times when I kind of wish I was, I kind of think of myself as still an attorney, but I'm representing the interests of the outdoor enthusiast world. But I wish I was representing someone else sometimes, because if things don't go well, there's no disconnect, right?
Yes.
It's all me.
Yeah, I get it. There's a lot of responsibility with that.
Well, responsibility either way, but it's more the personal nature. It's like you feel like you're personally at fault or personally attacked when things don't go well in the world I live in now.
That's a great transition to the next question. I mean, I've known you this long, and I don't sense. I notice that you're very inclusive. Like, there are many people involved in the success of the Loppet Foundation, and you've always done such from my view, such a great job of inclusion, of getting people invested in their own way. And I know you're a humble guy, and that's why I wanted to get you on the sauna bench, because you can't squirm out of this. But can you give us the secret sauce, the recipe to you jump off and you decide to do this gig full time about nature in the Twin Cities and what it meant to you in the beginning? Sure, there was skiing involved, maybe there was bicycling involved, there was coordinating with the park board involved. And you were a lone soldier in that.
Oh, I was never a lone soldier. I mean, I always had, friends and other co-conspirators, so to speak. Now, draw them in during a run or during lunchtime or whatever, and co-conspire, so to speak. But no, it was never John Munger. I was just kind of channeling everyone else. But, you asked about the secret sauce, and I'd say, really, it's the same secret sauce that I think gets just about everything done in the world is perseverance, right? I mean, it's like I'd have done tons of things wrong and lost my cool all the time, and but sticking with it is what's got us to a more successful point.
Can you reach out like by name, like who is an example? Can you list 2 or 3 people by name who have been co-conspirators in your effort to this monumental work that you've done here?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's easy. So Piotr Bednarski, I met Piotr at Cornell University, and he was the captain of the ski team when I got there, and came back to coach us. And he's been a really high-end coach in the area for years, and now is part of the Loppet Foundation as our head coach. He's always been a co-conspirator. Craig Rudd, who just a real good friend of mine, who's very interested in the trails and the events, and is, countless hours when you need Craig, he's out there shoveling or doing whatever it takes, right? And then the other person I'd point to is, there's a ton of them, but Margaret Adelsman, who's her husband runs Skinny Ski. Well, actually, the family runs SkinnySki.com, which is a big skiing website. Margaret did everything that was necessary, from finances to database to coaching to program development, and was one of those people who was there for everything. But there's literally hundreds of people like that.
Yeah, and that's the spirit that I wanted to pull out. That was one of the intents of this interview, John, is just to see the growth of Loppet Foundation in the sense of, this isn't John Munger or some cockamamie plan of a guy who decided to stop being a lawyer and become a naturalist, or a development of skiing in Minneapolis. There was a lot of it's a foundation, right? So is the organization of Loppet, it's not a corporation, right?
It's a nonprofit organization. Yeah, so the 501c3, and I don't know if embedded in there is how do you keep all these people involved, right?
That's right. It's embedded in there. Yes.
I think people having it be a nonprofit is really critical to that. Hey, John, is there any water out there?
Yeah.
But that being a nonprofit has been a big point. This isn't about enriching John Munger. It's about doing something good for the community.
Yes.
And I would say, kind of going along with perseverance. I think one of the things that I've been able to do halfway well is embody what the whole community, our whole kind of ski community and outdoors community wants. And when people see that you're trying to do something that they believe in, people want an outlet to help. And I've always considered it to be, and this has been, I think, an important point for me, is they're not doing me a favor. I'm doing them a favor just as much as they're doing the organization a favor, by asking them to help, because people want to be involved, and you're giving them that opportunity.
Would you say maybe I would call them splinters? Back to the origins of the Loppet Foundation. The Luminary was an early iteration, right?
Yeah.
We'll talk about that in a moment.
Yeah.
Are you cool? Do you want to cool down? Or are you all right?
I think we should cool down in a minute here.
Yeah. Can we keep? Well, I'll press pause and we'll pick up. So the luminary. How did the idea of that come about? And that was early on into the whole program, wasn't it?
That was, I believe, year 4. Either year 4 or 5. So there was a guy named Brian Granuski. Well, no, Rick Buddy, who was a dear friend and our registration guy, a very engineering person. Rick pointed out that we were trying to grow our events, and that the biggest event outside of the Birkebeiner, the biggest ski event, was the Book Across the Bay, which was a luminary lit event across Lake Superior from, I can't remember, from Ashland to Bayfield. So we kind of talked about that, and then a guy named Brian Granuski materialized, and Brian was very interested in luminaries. And Brian was going to make the luminaries for us, but Brian had a little kid, and it didn't turn out he had time to do it. So with about 2 weeks to go before the event, our volunteer coordinator talked to her husband, Hal. And Hal is a very engineering type person as well. And Hal called one day and he said, "John, don't worry about these luminaries. I'm going to handle it.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to make your luminaries. Don't worry about it. Don't need to talk to me again."
Like, I own this.
Yep.
All right.
Good. Yeah. So Hal, says he's got it, and it was funny. A week or so later, one of the things that we needed was a pump to get the water out of the lake, and park board folks called and said, geez, we've got a pump you can use. And Hal had been so adamant that I shouldn't call him that I called Peggy, his wife, and said, hey, I've got this pump, Peggy, but Hal told me not to call him. And she says, no, call Hal. And so I called him and got him the pump. But Hal did have the luminaries under control. And, that year I think we had maybe 150 people involved in the luminary Loppet.
Attendees or
people in attendance. Yes,
okay.
Yes, who paid.
Yeah, right.
And, and we gave them all hot cocoa, and it was good. But Hal was not happy because it was cold, and I'm going to do this again. And Hal came to me later on that year, and he said, Munger, we've got this new idea. We're going to do something called Ice Cropolis, and I had no idea what he was talking about. Crazy ideas, and he said he needed some sauna tubes, which not sauna like this,
right?
But a tube that you pour concrete in. So I got him some of those from a different sponsor, and he created these tubes of ice up to 12 feet tall. And he was joined in this by this guy, AD, or Dave Bryan, who is another brilliant architect. And they also put together an ice pyramid and various other features. And that year we had 350 people, and they weren't happy with things, but it was good. And
not to put you on the spot, what year we talking then?
I think
one?
I think we're in 07 or 08 was the first one.
Okay, that's in a way it seems like yesterday, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, in other ways, probably a lifetime ago.
Yes,
but
yes, it does. They're both there. But anyway, it kept redoubling basically, or a little bit more every year, until we realized, I think it was when we hit 800, that we didn't know what the hell we were doing. Because it's one thing to put on an event for 150, 200 people, whatever, but to serve 800 people hot cocoa is a whole different on the middle of a frozen lake is a little different experience.
Yeah, you need a sponsor for something like that.
Well, we need a sponsor, but we also need, and that's where you came in, Glenn. I think I knew you were with Nestle, and lo and behold, we got some cocoa.
So truth be told, that was a bait and switch for me. The cocoa was the easy part. The sauna was the tough part.
Yeah.
And that was where the passion came in. But hey, it was a good 1-2 punch, wasn't it?
Yeah, right. No, it was very good. But the other piece there, so we needed the cocoa, but more important really than the cocoa was a delivery system that actually made sense. And I'm an attorney, not a operations guy. So a guy named Bill Dossett, who had become a good friend, took over that aspect of things, and to this day still, directs the operations of things. And so
all volunteer.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, our volunteers, you can hardly call them volunteers because they do more work than Hercules, but but they believe in what they're doing and doing amazing work. So ended up doubling. Now it's 10,000 or more people, and one of the things we discovered with that is it's not all about the skiing; it's about people getting people outdoors. So we initially had it defined as a skiing event,
right. And
later on we're like, no, if you're walking, if you're snowshoeing, if you're skiing, we don't care. You're still doing the luminary Loppet, and still welcome.
Yeah, that's worth talking about, because here we are in Minneapolis, Minnesota. A lot of people think we're crazy to live in a city like this. It's cold, and you schedule the luminary to be in the heart of winter, and actually maybe at the back turn of winter. It's usually in February, early February.
The weekend with the first Sunday in February.
Yeah. And most people by then have really cocooned their way through many long, dark weeks of winter. And there's something magical about the luminary, where we sort of take winter under our wing and come out as a community. And I think that's the spirit of many cities in the north, where there is this pent-up demand for getting together, getting out as a community, and you guys touch upon that. Do you feel that at the luminary?
I think we feel that with a lot of things that we do actually, and that maybe hits at the heart of a lot of Loppetness in general. I think you could go do your sauna alone in the woods, right? You could go skiing alone in the woods, or fat tire biking or whatever. And I think initially people were like, oh, people aren't going to want to do skiing when there's other people around, or sauna together, or whatever. But I think what makes it special is that you're doing it together. It's like, why do you go to a Twins game when you can watch it on the TV and it's actually, you get a better view? Well, there's something really special about being there all together, all on the same page, right?
Yeah, man. There's something really special about what you just said and who's sitting to my right. And I want to introduce you guys. This is John Peterson, the founder of the 612 Sauna Society, in a kindred spirit to something that you just recognized, something you just said. John, can you expand on that a little bit as it relates to sauna, as it relates to community versus a sauna in your backyard?
Yeah, I'm going to interrupt one second. Can we go in the sauna?
Let's go in the hot room. Yes, it's well said.
I was just going to say that.
Hey, John, you got yourself 30 seconds before you have to answer that one. Yeah. And so we're getting water here. John, you called it perfectly. I'm ready to go in. Now, here, you can stick your cup right in there. We're getting some water. Now, this is an example of what the advantage of being in shape is. Both my two sauna partners here have 0.04 pounds of extra weight on them. I probably have an extra 10 maybe. I don't know. I'd like to think it's only that. But, when you don't have too much body fat, your rounds are a little quicker. Your heat up is faster, right? And you're ready to go cool down. Well, you're gonna welcome some water on the rocks, aren't you?
Yes, I was shivering there.
Yeah. Well, you did good. So JP is over here as a impeccable sauna meister. He's pulling the coals forward. He's got the glove on, and are we ready for another log in there, John?
We are, yeah.
Yeah, and do you want to, I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but I thought John Munger teed up the ball so well about community and gathering, whether it's to go skiing, whether it's to go fat tire biking. You mentioned going, to a baseball game. What have you noticed, John, as founder of the 612 Sauna Society, with sauna and this community that we've put together here?
I've noticed that's where a lot of the energy is, that coming together to enjoy the sauna, but also to make it available, to come together as a community to operationalize an experience like this, that there's different layers of where it's satisfying to not just experience something, but experience, hey, we did this together, we can do things together. I take a lot of heart in that, and I think the people that are involved too, because we feel successful together. And I know I take that into my other projects, where it's wow, we did that together, and that was really, building this sauna in Glen. This is really complicated for me, but we pulled it off, and then it gives me confidence in other things that are kind of daunting.
Yeah, you can accomplish a lot. What is that African expression? If you want to run fast, go alone. If you want to run far, go together.
Yeah,
Sounds right.
Sounds good.
Yeah. How about you with sauna, John Munger, founder, Loppet Foundation? You're no stranger to sauna. You embraced sauna. You welcomed me to the finish line with my first mobile sauna. And what a big thank you on behalf of the 612 Sauna Society and John Peterson, founder of the 612 Sauna Society, for being open to allowing this sauna to be here, where we are right now, at this beautiful trailhead, which we'll talk about in a moment. I want to get that down. But can you share a little bit about sauna for you?
Sauna for me, to be honest, has not been a central part of my life. I enjoy sauna, and it's been something that I think is kind of culturally part of everything that we do, right? I mean, if you're an outdoors person, if you're a skier, if you're from Scandinavian roots, which many of us aren't, including me, but there's this sense that sauna is kind of part of all of that. But I'd kind of go back to part of your question there was, One of the big things that when I reflect on my work, when I do it well, it's usually because I say yes. And so when somebody like John comes and says, geez, we want to be, we've got this great idea, we'll, put a sauna in next to the, trailhead. I think there's a tendency to think of the reasons why not to do something, and I tend to approach it from the opposite point of view. Let's try and find reasons to do this, because it's just going to elevate everyone, and the sauna has certainly done that.
So I think this is you're having, like, if I was a psychologist, I think you're having like an opposite reaction to being a lawyer, because as a lawyer, your job is to say no, isn't it?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, I think that and the lawyer skills and training have helped in a lot of ways, in strange ways on that, because I've thought about that before. I mean, you generally don't say no. What you do is you tell a client who wants to do something crazy, these are all the reasons why I think you shouldn't do that, or you shouldn't operate just from emotions or whatever, right? But one of the things that's been really useful to me is, people do tend to think of all the reasons they shouldn't do things. And one of them, just as an example that comes up very frequently, is, well, we can't do that because of liability. And I've found myself over time, and this goes kind of back to my dad, who's a very kind of out of the box, why can't we do things person, right? I tend to go, well, wait a second, I actually was an attorney, and I don't see any liability issues here, so I don't know what you're talking about. Tell me about that. And usually they have no concrete thing whatsoever, and so I'm able to kind of steer around. For instance, some park board staff used to have concerns like that, and I would be able to say, time out. I don't think there's actually anything really there, right?
Yeah, very well framed out. John, we deal with that a lot with the 612 Sauna Society. I think anybody doing anything, the word liability, anything that involves other people, or something in the public domain or public world, liability. It really holds us back from so much that
I can really see what he's saying too. To have somebody in the room who can say, "Oh, well, actually, I know a lot about liability. Tell me what your concerns are. Let's talk it out." Because a lot of times when it comes up, if you don't have that kind of expertise, it's just a conversation stopper.
Yeah. Maybe the way to look at liability is you're out camping and you're just getting a fire going, and it just downpours. That's the liability chatter, is the rain that when you're trying to just build something, get the fire going and that. So sauna with you, I got a couple rapid fire questions, John, that I asked all Sauna Talk guests. Is this mobile sauna we're sitting in? It is mobile. If you could bring a mobile sauna anywhere in the world, anywhere that and enjoy a sauna experience, does a spot come to mind for you?
I don't know. I love it right here. I mean, we're at the trailhead where my heart is, and where I can go skiing and hop in the sauna. I can't think of anything better.
And how many steps away are we from your office, from your desk?
I bet just 7 steps away.
Yeah. As you think about the sauna experience, if you could sauna with anybody, dead or alive, past, present, someone famous, someone not famous, just to spend a couple hours on the sauna bench, just chilling out, relaxing, maybe after exercise, after a nice ski. What's a person that comes to mind that you'd like to have a sauna session with?
Oh boy. I know that's a tough one.
There's no right answer, which is the good news.
Yeah. I mean, what's funny? What comes to my mind? It doesn't make any sense. But when I was a kid, I used to read all the baseball books I could, and Lou Gehrig was my hero, right? And so maybe Lou Gehrig.
Nice. Yeah. And talk baseball?
Or
just talk life?
I don't know. That doesn't really make a lot of sense. But I tend not to idolize people. I know who I would. It would be Jessie Diggins. No, it's a no-brainer. She's a world-class skier from Minnesota. She's helping us bring the World Cup here. She's the leader of our community. Yeah, Jessie'd be awesome.
You know, I think dreams can come true. Dreams can come true. She will be on this property when?
Well, she'll be here in May to check out the World Cup course so that she has it in her mind for next year and can visualize it. And she'll be back again exactly, 365 days from now next year at the World Cup.
I know she's been, you think highly of her, and most, actually all of us in Minnesota are just so proud of what she's done, as a pride of a Minnesotan, pride of Minnesota. And as a pride of skiing, there's something that embodies her spirit, her fortitude, her grit. And we're just so blessed to have her be. Was she? Can you tell listeners a little bit about the World Cup, her involvement? Was she a contributor to get this here, and shed a little light on that for us, John?
Yeah. So Jessie first came into my worldview 9 years ago when she was a junior in Minnesota, junior skier. I think she won state when she was a senior, right? And then the next year, she came back. We were hosting junior nationals here at the park, and we didn't really have nearly as much infrastructure as we do now, but we managed to put this event together, and Jessie won all the events going away. She was already kind of skiing internationally at the time and decided to come bless us with her presence, and then fast forward 7 years to the Olympics last year, or fast forward 6 years, the year before the Olympics, Jessie had done a World Cup race in Quebec City, Canada, and after the race was really excited about what the experience was like for her fellow Canadian skiers who got to have fans from their home country cheering on. So she called and said, "Hey, I heard you might be able to help bring a World Cup to Minnesota and to the United States."
Just to interject, when you said she called, can you tell us more about that? Who did she call, and what did that call entail? Was it a phone call into the main switchboard?
Yeah. Well, I imagine there had been a few calls. I don't think I was the first, but I think eventually people said, geez, you might want to call John Munger from the Loppet Foundation. Yeah. Maybe he can help make this happen.
Did you take the phone call?
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Well, there was actually a more interesting call that happened a year later. So we worked on it during that year, right? And then, again, fast forward a year. So she's just won the Olympics, the gold medal, right? And now it's like a week or so later, and my wife and I and Craig Rudd, who I mentioned earlier, are driving up to Thunder Bay, Canada, to do a ski race. And we're on the North Shore, and we're driving along, and the phone rings, and I say, I pick up the phone. "Hello, this is John." "Oh, hi, John. This is Jessie Diggins. Do you have a minute?" I was like, I turned to Craig and Diane, and I was like, "Oh my God!" Because she was on speakerphone.
Sure. You took the call in the car. It was on your cell phone.
So I always laugh about it. I'm like, "Oh no, Jessie, I'm busy."
Can I get back with you? Yeah.
So I pulled over, and we talked to her, and she was asking about the World Cup, and of course, her winning the World Cup really made it possible for this all to happen.
How come and how so, winning the World Cup?
Well, I mean, before that, I knew who Jessie Diggins was, but I don't think my neighbor did, my barber didn't, nobody else did. So when when she won that, I mean, I remember distinctly, within a week or so after that, I had gone to the barber shop, and my barber said, I told him what I did for a living. He said, "You need to get that Jessie Diggins out on your ski course. She has real moxie." and that's the first time that there's been a cross-country skier that has, that people in the public know who they are in the United States. And
bridging a gap, if you will, from those that are into skiing to those that may be a barber who's casually into the sport or knows you're into it. It's sort of that bridge, that connector piece.
Yes, absolutely.
So that phone call, you were on your way up north.
Yeah.
When was that again?
That was early last March, so just over a year ago.
Sure.
And we've all worked really hard since then to make this World Cup a reality. Lots happened.
Yeah. Anytime you want to step out, we can continue the chat, John. How put it in context, the World Cup here in Minneapolis next year. How hard? I mean, what does that mean? How difficult is that to get that? To get that assignment is the right word. I don't know. How difficult was it to get, and what will it mean for the Loppet Foundation and the city of Minneapolis?
Well, I mean, getting it really required going out on a limb. I mean, I convinced the U.S. ski and snowboard people that what we needed to do was, get Jesse in a room with as many VIPs in the community as we could find, and
Right.
and they were a little skeptical of how that was going to work because they've been trying to get a World Cup in the U.S. since 2001 was the last one, and it hasn't worked financially.
Where did that take place?
That was in Salt Lake City, and,
Yeah.
and the only reason it happened it was a prelude to the Olympics in 2002, right?
So you fly out there.
So no, we talked over the phone, the U.S. ski and snowboard guys and I, but when Jesse came home in mid-April, we arranged this breakfast and we invited all the people we could think of, and Jesse lit the room up with her stories, and by no means did we solve the puzzle right that day. It was a big financial puzzle to solve.
Yes.
But I said, you know what, I'm comfortable enough with this that we're going to take a risk, and I went to my board, some of whom were a little skeptical, and we
Skeptical
went out on a
in the sense of the ability to pull it off, or to get the event, or skeptical in what way?
Well, I think a couple ways. I mean, one of our big pieces of our mission involves underserved kids and families and populations in North Minneapolis, and I've always been very cognizant of that. Is this a new idea something that's just going to benefit the elite level skier, or is this something that's actually going to benefit the community? And so they were asking questions like that. In addition to, do we really want to put the finances of the organization at risk for this big of a thing when it's about elite level skiers?
Yes.
As it's turned out, we haven't solved the whole financial puzzle yet. I think we will.
Yeah.
But the amount of and we should go.
Sure, we can go outside.
But the amount of support and inspiration that Jesse and the World Cup brings have more than taken care of themselves already.
Yeah. Well said. So finishing up with Sauna Talk, John Munger, founder. Is that the right word? Founder of the Loppet Foundation?
I am one of the founders of the Loppet Foundation, I think. Is that right? Oh, thank you, John.
And that sums up John right there. He says one of the founders. But, I can say this. John's a humble guy, but we would not be sitting here if John did not, quote, quit his day job and immerse himself 100% into the Loppet Foundation. I will include in the show notes some statistics about, and also some tentacles, for lack of a better word, of all of the areas that the Loppet Foundation is deeply involved in within our community. And John touched upon something earlier about, within the mission of this nonprofit is to serve the community and also those underserved. So teeing the ball up, my final question for you, John, then is tell us about the future. You've created such roots for this organization. You just gracefully dodged out of a meeting a little bit before it was adjourned, and I wouldn't say you got busted, but all the people in the meeting passed us by as we were cooling down here, and I think half of them were envious. Do you want to speak about maybe what that meeting was about, or just touch upon what is in the future for the Loppet Foundation?
Well, that meeting, just to break the great tension there, is that was a meeting about the television production for the World Cup next year. So they're here today because this will be about the same light as you'll see for the actual event, right?
Fascinating.
So kind of interesting.
Yeah, there must have been eight or so people. Any of them from out of town? Are they local media people, or who are those people?
Yeah, so the TV production company, there was a couple people from that. There was a couple people from U.S. Ski and Snowboard, and then many of our volunteer crew, and we're here. So that was that meeting. But in terms of where we go from here, we're at an interesting crossroads. I mean, we have worked really hard to bring this Trailhead facility to life, and that's a 14,000 square foot facility in the middle of the park with snowmaking and mountain biking and saunas and so forth, all right here. Right. Kind of a real focused outdoor place, node, and that's been wonderful. And it's taken really kind of superhuman efforts from all of our staff, from the volunteers, from a lot of people. And one of the things that's been neat is since we've finished it, and this is just the last several months, people are still fired up to do more. And I think, part of that is being inspired by things like the World Cup. But it is a time to kind of go from superhuman to maybe a little bit more sustainable is kind of the word of the day in Loppet world, right?
Yeah.
And
slower growth, or what's an element of sustainability that's...
Well, maybe slower growth. I mean, I think people don't really believe it when I talk about slower growth because I seem to be very good at change, and engendering more of that. But I think more that we've got to we're allowed to do things maybe a way that that costs a few dollars instead of just doing it with sheer willpower, because I think we're starting to prove that this model works around here. We haven't crossed that bridge yet. We have to get through the first year before we're there, but that's an exciting thing because real change in the world is stuff that lasts, and it's not something that you like a kid in North Minneapolis. Oh, you go see him one time and toss a ball with him. Well, that's nice. But it's the person who's there with that kid over years and years that he can count on that actually makes a difference in that kid's life. And so being able to cross that threshold into maybe something that will still be here in 20 years is pretty special.